Well, I think someone will say how to select the paths. I think, you should be more aware of yourself. If you are able to be self-aware, you know what makes you happier and what you're able to do easier than other things. If you can't sit for an hour or 2 hours meditating, then maybe karma yoga or bhakti yoga is better than these other types of yoga, because you would rather be more active doing something, right? Chanting or what you call it, working for the benefit of other people. Okay. So it's all about doing a analysis of your strengths and challenges. In the corporate world, when I was working in the corporate world, I lectured on how you should for management, look at your strengths and weaknesses, and you should augment your strength and find ways to balance your weakness. Okay, so in this case, find what is comfortable for you, what is your level that you like, and then you try out a couple of those paths and see which one resonate better with you, right? So that's how you can choose. You can choose the path. They're talking about, yes, the devas are, of course, material manifestations. So Shiva Shakti is beyond that. It is not Shiva and Shakti separate. The model I have is Shiva Shakti. The divine representations, the Sagun, even Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu and the Lord Brahma, okay, they are below the Shiva Shakti level. Okay, so they already have the gunas. So they are actually in Prakriti. They are in the universe. Okay, so Lord Shiva is not the same as Param Shiv. Okay, Lord Shiva is, in the universe. Okay, so the same with the three, the Brahma and Lord Vishnu. Yes, there was a question about manas and buddhi. Actually, when you are in the buddhi, thoughts do not arise. It is what we call the no mind or no thought state. Your mind is totally without any thoughts, and you are in what we call awareness state. That is what the buddhi is. And when you're in awareness state, okay, you can actually go back and work out some of the karmic programs, so that even if you go back to the manas stage, because in the beginning, even after you've gone to the buddhi, you come back to manas and go to buddhi and stuff, you are not established in the samadhi state yet. Okay, so in the nirvichar samadhi. So you go from nirvichar to sarvichar, nirvichar, sarvichar, and only after a lot of practice you are established there. When you are in the nirvichar samadhi, you can affect the karma. You can without thinking, and more of the karma that you get rid of, and more sattvic the manas, the less thoughts you will have. Okay, so eventually there will be no thoughts, even when you go back down to the manas stage. Yes, another question was, yes, we cannot prevent bad thoughts as we have not reached that stage. That's why we're talking about letting go and using your will to stop the thoughts from acting out. I mean, when you have a bad thought that you want to hit somebody because they insulted you, okay, but you stop that or you let go is even better. Then you are preventing the karma, the bad karma. There's still the karma of the bad thought, but it is much smaller than the karma of a bad action, right? So, the level of karma usually is that a bad thought is got some karma, more karma if you actually have a bad speech or negative speech, and then if you have a bad act, if you act out your thought, then it's the full karma. See, is there something else I haven't answered? Let me see. Oh, HT, yes, but you see, they are your thoughts, even though because it doesn't matter whether you want the thought or not, you're not conscious of it because the content, the cloud of thoughts is being conditioned by your subconscious. So you may have one conscious thought and you're thinking like this, and then that actually gives rise to certain karma in the subconscious, and that will give rise to many different thoughts that you may not actually want to have, but it will come up and you become aware of it. That's why it's very important to develop awareness, okay, and to be able to watch your thoughts. Sit down just to watch your thoughts without actually thinking about something. And then another practice is to actually consciously think of something. Okay, so you look at a picture of Lord Buddha or of Lord Krishna or Lord Shiva, and you close your eyes after looking for a minute at the picture, and then you close your eyes and see what thoughts come. Or you look at a image on the TV, and then you close your eyes, shut down the TV, and see what thoughts come. Right? Maybe a beautiful lady showed up on a great actress showed up on TV, and then you switch it off and then see what thoughts are coming. Okay, so that helps you to control your mind and to purify the mind, because if the certain thoughts come up and you say let go, it may come up again and then you say let go. After a while, the karma that generates that thought lose the effect. The karma is gone. Okay, because the karmas keep having to be acting, and you keep letting it go, letting it go, letting it go. Okay, so it's like somebody calling you up and say, you should go to Starbucks, and you say you don't listen, and then he calls again, come go to Starbucks. After 10 times, the guy gives up and goes away because you're not going to go to Starbucks, right? So, but of course, I hope Subaya and Desmond will not consider that that they can stop going to Starbucks for me. When next time I visit, I'm still expecting a Starbucks coffee. But that's how it acts. The karma, when it acts, keep coming, and you keep ignoring it, letting it go, or willing it away, it loses the power. So after some time, it is gone. There's a question about the final thought. It's not the final thought as much as, if you think of the divine, when you exit the life, then you will go towards that divine. So that's why Lord Krishna said, think of me in life and in death, and you will come to me. Okay, so that's the most important thing, is not to worry about what your final thought is, because what we're trying to do is to train ourselves with our sadhana. That's when you practice your sadhana, whether it's the Kriya breath, when you are at the death's door, the Kriya breath will happen. You will work towards that exit. If you have a mantra and you have been repeating that mantra a million times in your life, that mantra will be helping you get on with your next journey, next part of the journey. Okay, so that's why we say have a sadhana, have a practice, because the more you practice, okay, the more you condition yourself to go towards that particular path. Okay, I hope that answers your question. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about fear. Now, when you looked at the thought, generation of thought, the chart that I had previously, the thought before it goes into feeling has already been conditioned by the karma, and that karma conditions it with fear, anger, or other types of patterns. It's not, we don't recognize it because it's not the emotion of fear yet. It's the imprint that will lead to fear later on in the thought. The thought will, if you condition the thought with a cloud of fear, then it will generate the fear feeling. Okay, so right now I thought we'd look at fear because so many people are afraid. I can feel that the whole world is generating a lot of fear. It's very difficult for people who are sensitive, because people who are sensitive are feeling it and they don't know where it's coming from, whether it's from themselves or they're just reacting to other people's fear and things like that. So we cannot see it, and that's why it's so dangerous. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about fear so you have a better understanding of it. So I like this quote from Mark Twain. I hope you all know Mark Twain. He's a great American writer who wrote Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, but he's famous for his quotes. And one of his quotes is that, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened." Okay, think about that. Right? It makes you think back and how often you have imagined and been afraid of many things in your life, and those things actually never happened. Some may have happened, but a lot of them never happened. Whether they happened or not, thinking about fearing them never helped. Okay, but a lot of times, that's why Mark Twain was saying, is that all these imagined problems and misfortunes he was afraid of, they have impacted his life, but they never actually happened. It's like a dream, a bad dream, that when you wake up and you say, "Oh, but I didn't get drowned there," or I, there was no mad elephant, didn't crush me by a mad elephant. Okay, so that tells you that fear actually has a lot of effect that we're not aware of, and it is actually preventing us from living a full life and being in the present. Okay. One of the things that we talk about is being in the present, right? Not in the past or not in the future. And it's very difficult to be in the present if you are afraid. Okay? Think about that. Now, types of fear. There's the fear based on ignorance of the self. Okay? So that means if you realize who you really are, if you're self-realized, there's no fear. Fear does not even occur because your mind is purified. There's no karmic imprint, to generate any kind of feeling or emotion of fear. So because not, like the Buddha, not just think or think about it, we are all one, that the divine is in each and every one of us. Right? So where can there be any fear? Fear comes when you think that you're separate, that the other person is going to harm you because they are different from you. Right? So the fear is based on the basic problem of fear comes from our misrepresenting who we really are. Now, then there's the fear based on a wrong belief. That's a lot of our times we misunderstand things and we get afraid because we are we believe something that isn't true. Okay, so, for instance, if you go in the dark, the story of the person who is traveling home in the dark, and it's a moonless night, there's no moon, so it's very dark, he can't see anything, but he just catches on the road something that looks like a snake. And he gets very scared. He wants to run away, but then he thinks, well, it's nighttime, maybe, why is a snake out on the road? The snake doesn't like the road, won't stay there. It's either a dead snake or maybe it's not a snake. Right? What's the snake doing at night? They usually come out during the daytime. So he takes out a flashlight and he goes a little closer and he shines the flashlight. He's ready to run away, but shines flashlight on the object. And he finds, to his great relief, that it's only a piece of rope that in the dark looked like a snake. So his fear was all for nothing. It was all based on the wrong perception. A lot of our fears are like that because we misunderstand what somebody else says as a threat, or we think that we are we're going to have some problems when nothing is going to happen. Okay, so that is fear based on a wrong belief. Now, there are necessary fears. What are necessary fears? We all know that, if you see a tiger on the road, really in daylight, your fear is justified because the tiger is a dangerous animal. Okay, so and it could really kill or eat you. So that is a justified, necessary fear that will tell you to run away as fast as you can. Now, another necessary fear is what the Lord Buddha called the samsaric fear, fear of samsara. Samsara is the law of birth and death, the karmic cycle of rebirth. Okay, that's called samsara. Okay, so the Lord Buddha said the fear of samsara is good because it will help you to meditate and to get out of this cycle of birth and death. to find your own true self, to go into nirvana, to discover what is shunya. Okay, so that seems like a necessary fear. If you're not afraid of death and life, then you're already, either you are crazy or you are already self-realized or God-realized. Okay. Now, there's lots of unnecessary fear. And I have a chart of some of these unnecessary fear in a moment. Okay, so in the next slide, I'll show you some of these unnecessary fears. Before we do that, I want to give you a quote. This is a quote from Sri Aurobindo. He's a great mystic, okay, in southern India. He lived most of his life in Pondicherry. He said, if you want to do yoga, you must get rid of fear. Yoga and fear do not go together. Okay, so if we want to become, because yoga is the path of self-realization, unifying with the divine, there can be no fear if you want to achieve yoga. So that's why we should remove yoga or remove fear and understand where fear fits in and not let it control our lives. Now, I want to list some unnecessary fears that we are all aware of these things. But they don't help. None of these things help you do anything or live a good life. The first is fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of change. You can look at all of these. That is not one of the fears I'm aware of. Fear of the government and fear of their aliens to enslave humanity. But we'll look at how we can deal with such a fear. Fear of something that, maybe that's, where would we put that fear? Fear of the government, that the government is controlled by aliens and out to get us. So is that fear based on a wrong belief? Or is that a necessary fear or an unnecessary fear? Where do we have some proof that the government, and which government? Is it, I don't want to say your government because you guys are in Singapore and Malaysia, okay, and I don't want to talk about our government because I'm not a fan of the president at the moment, who's the president. Okay, so, but I didn't think he's an alien. I have no proof he's an alien. If he's an alien, then he's a very stupid alien. He's not very smart. So I think, maybe he's not an alien. So what we need to do is actually examine our belief. What is the basis? If you have a pure mind, then you don't make mistakes so much. If your mind is being wavered and influenced by certain things which other people can show you is not true, then you need to rely on the facts. What are the facts? We have to go with the facts. Okay, so I'm not aware of any governments being run by aliens yet. Okay, let's go back to the unnecessary fears. All of us are afraid of failure. We don't want to fail, but we all know being afraid of failure doesn't help. It just means we should work harder or be smarter or prepare better. But if we're so afraid, if we're afraid of failure, we're afraid of change, we're afraid of the future, we're afraid of disapproval, we're afraid of rejection. I mean, we won't do anything. We just sit there because we're afraid any action will could lead to any of those things, right? So it will lead to your immobility. It will lead to your being a vegetable stuck and rooted in the ground. Okay. There's even fear of success. Some people deep down think they don't deserve to be successful, and they're very afraid of that. Okay. Their fear of losing control to others. They think other people are going to control them. Maybe that's also a fear about aliens. Okay, that the aliens will control us. I don't know. Maybe that's part of losing control to others. But there's nothing we can do about any of that, and they don't help, even if we have such fear. Okay, what's the point of being afraid of change? The Lord Buddha says life is change. The world is change. Nothing remains the same. Right? Even the water under the bridge never returns. So change is a reality. Right? It may be a conventional reality. Maybe underneath the change there is an absolute unchanged, but we have no experience of that. That is beyond our experience. Our experience is that life is change. So what's to be afraid of? Embrace the change. Okay, people talk about surfing the wave. Okay, so go with it. Future, we don't know what the future is going to hold. Being afraid, fearful of the future does nothing. Fear of the past is even more useless because you can't change the past and it has no effect on you. Only in your mind. All of these things prevent you from being in the present. And all these fears have an impact on your health, right? Prevents you from relaxing, causes anxiety and panic, and decreases your immunity to disease. Okay, so being afraid actually is a bad thing. If you're afraid of the virus, it's a bad thing. You should take proper precautions, of course. Wear a mask, wash your hands, distance, stay home if you can. Those are actions. They're good. But being afraid, just when you're already taking all the precautions, it will affect your body and your health, cause depression, may affect the heart because of high blood pressure. Fear can cause high blood pressure. Fear can become a phobia, and you'll need mental health practitioner to look after, right? So basically, you're missing life if you have these unnecessary fears. So let us not give ourselves to any of these kinds of fears. Fear what is necessary. Fear life and death, the cycle of life and death. Embrace life, embrace change. But the cycle, okay, the samsara, we should do our sadhana so that we don't have to be conditioned and come back for the next lifetime if we don't want to. Now, the tools which are used for conquering fear. All right, so obviously, if you're doing the yoga practices, you are already conquering fear in one way or the other. Okay, all those yoga, working on your mind, purifying your mind, will get rid of the fear. Okay, you'll get rid of other negativity, like the desires and the anger issues and those things like that. But they will conquer fear. But what about before you have attained to those states? What do you do? Okay, so these are some of the tools. The first group on top are what normal people try to do. And the second group are what the spiritual people try to do. Okay, the first group of people who are not familiar with sadhana or with spiritual techniques, they try to do self-talk like, oh, there's no need to be afraid, or, you're good, you're fine, nobody's going to harm you. So it's a self-talk, try to talk themselves out of their fear. Another way is to just say, stop, I'm not going to be afraid. It may work for some people. Usually it doesn't work too well. Most people actually try to distract themselves. So they read a book, when they're afraid, watch TV, go out, call a friend, I'm afraid, and what to do, So they a distraction from your fear. That's what normal people usually do. But go online shopping. I think at this particular time, lots of people go online shopping so that they can distract themselves or they're bored, one way or the other. Then you can question your fears, where did it come from? What good does it do? Or you can go and find a psychologist or a psychiatrist if your fear is too strong for you to handle. So that's how normal people deal with their fears. But for those who are spiritually inclined, we use tools such as affirmations, talking about courage. I have no fear. I'm filled with courage. I face life with courage. So those are affirmations. A little higher level to affirmations is visualize a positive outcome. Let's say you're afraid of spiders. Then you sit down, you meditate and visualize yourself. And you see a spider. You go and see yourself holding the spider in your hand and not being afraid. Of course, sometimes, when you first do this, you get scared and you drop the spider and run away. Even in your mind, you do that. But as you keep visualizing that you're not afraid of a particular thing or a particular person. Let's say you're very afraid of your boss at work. So you sit down and you visualize yourself meeting your boss in the office and having a good talk with him, and he's very impressed with you, and you're not afraid of him anymore. Okay, so that's to help you overcome your fear. Now, this you cannot do just, once or twice. You must do for many times to change the fear complex in your mind, to reprogram your mind, to purify your mind of that particular fear complex. Okay, so that's a very powerful method. Another method is in pranayama. When you feel that you're getting afraid, you can do fire breath, where you breathe very rapidly and throw out the negativity, and then you do different types of breathing, like equal breathing, sukha pranayama, to balance yourself and calm down. Okay, so you have a calming pranayama after the pranayama where you throw out the negativity. Okay, so pranayama is also can be used for this. And of course, you have mindfulness and meditation techniques that people talk about how to handle fear, anxiety, and all those things. So you can find all of those. I mean, there may even be apps and all that, and books and articles on the internet that you can look up. But you may be already doing some of this. And I have taught mindfulness and other kind of meditation, Kriya Yoga techniques where you can get rid of your fear. If you do your Kriya, you can actually take as you inhale up the spine, you can put the fear there, the fear of your boss. You just visualize your boss going up and down your spine. And sooner or later, you will have no fear of your boss. Okay, because you get rid of you don't get rid of your boss, you get rid of your fear, the karma that makes you afraid of your boss. Okay, so these are all the different ways that we can use to conquer fear. And let me know if you enjoyed this talk and whether it was helpful for you. Anandamanandakara prasanam Yana swarupam nijabodha rupam Yogendra medium bhavarogya vaidyam Shrimat kurum nityam maham bhajami. Om. Okay, so goodbye until we meet again. Namaste again. And keep safe. Have a great day. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be safe. Have peace.